Alright, so this contested territory, right? Everything looks nice and normal. No, it's not. Contested territory is, unfortunately, kind of boring. So, here's the deal. I'm going to use this video, I wouldn't really call it a rant, except it kind of is. I want to talk about contested territory. It's a good game mode, but it really kind of sucks at the same time. I want to address first, it's a super good mode. I'm glad what MK did with it. I want to say there is positive, and they worked really hard, I'm sure. And it's a fun mode, but it tails out so quick. I saw most of my team on the first one. I get the first one was 2 weeks long. But most of them were burning out after just a week. And it's weird because I thought there would be more incentive to keep going, more incentive to keep playing. And now we're on, I believe, the 4th one, and almost my whole team has said, like, yeah, this is just really boring now. We still have some people going, but I see a lot of people just not wanting to play, either because they're, well, I mean, some of them are busy, which is fair, but then some people just think that there's no point. There's just no reason. So, I want to address that in a moment. But first, I've got to say, the modes that were chosen and the way that the randomizers are set are really, really cool. For example, this one in the background with Elise tiers gave me Dart Monkey, Sniper, Wizard, Ninja, Banana Farm, and Spike Factory. Which, may I say, who's out here using Banana Farm on least tiers? If you are, what? Either way, though, it's interesting. I really like these modes because it makes you think. We've had all sorts of crazy little discussions in our server. We have a Discord server that we do all this in for the contested territory team. And we had an entire discussion about, like, oh, well, here's what we can do to optimize this 4-circle one with Glaive Lord strats, or here's how you can do this with this strat. It really, sometimes it made us think when we had an enemy. There's one of the problems, though. We had to have an enemy. We have had maybe 2 of those. On the first week, we had one that lasted 3 days until they were cyberbullied into a corner, and they just gave up. And now in this current week, we are actually having someone to go up against, which is kind of exciting, but also unfortunate, because some people just don't want to play anymore. So, I want to say more good. There is a lot of good. I don't want this to be taken as, oh look, I'm going to complain about the CT because it's really bad, really boring, so generic. No, CT is original, CT is fun. It's great. But it just needs work to keep people actually coming back. It's one of the modes that requires you to have a team that is 15 people large. Sure, you can constantly shuffle people in and out and in and out, but then you're not really working with a team. You're just kind of throwing like one of those rock machine things, if any of you know what I'm talking about. The ones that go spin. I don't know, someone inserted a JPEG of it on the screen. But I feel like there is a few things to change this. I have had many discussions with people in the CT, specifically one of them, I'd like to say thank you to Dazzle for discussing this one with me. Because we went and talked about, like, hey, how are we going to, how would we improve CT? And we came up with a lot of different ideas. Let me see if I can, oh, that is the wrong one. Let me see if I can find where it is. Because yes, of course I'm doing this all on the spot. If any of you thought I was actually preparing things, what? Here it is. So, it was discussed, one thing that we saw immediately change that we were all really happy with is the cut to make it so it wasn't a 2-week event. 2-week was way too insane. But then we talked about the other big issue that makes it really less contesting and more of a waiting game. Like, hey, who has the most diverse time frame? And we just decided that, okay, Decay needs a rework. It has been changed a little bit, but we think it needs to be reworked in its entirety. So, what we were thinking could be done with Decay is make it so a tile never leaves your possession once you have it, unless the enemy team actually beats your score. With this, it'll make it so it's not this battle of, oh boy, let's all do our stuff before it decays, we gotta refresh the same 4 tiles over and over. It becomes a challenge of, how much skill can you have to lock it down? How much can you do to keep that under control? And the decay was just really, really high as well. So we said, alright, it's decaying too fast, and we think that needs to calm down. So we said, you know what, it shouldn't be 3 or 4 hours, whatever it was. It should be once every 6 hours the decay happens. And the decay is going to be either a third or a fourth based off your initial score. So if your first score is 12 on Elise tiers, the first decay after 6 hours will be 15, or it'll be 16. And then, after 12 hours, I don't want to see a third or a fourth of that. I want to see a third or fourth of the original thing. So if it goes 12 into 15, it should then go up to 18. You should be rewarded for finding those really optimal strategies. Because working for all of that, only to see, oh boy, the decay just happened immediately, and now my score is back to being trash, you should feel rewarded for really optimizing the tiles. So I think that the decay should happen infinitely. Every 6 hours or so, add a third or a fourth of the initial score to stack it up and stack it up. Because at that point, something will happen eventually. That 12 will turn into 15, and then an 18, and then a 21, 24. That's a whole day of decay. And it will double, or over double. And, I mean, it just makes it a little easier. Because that way now, your opponents have more wiggle room, yes, but if that 12 is insanely optimized, you're using relics well, everything is well done, then you keep that tile. You benefit from doing well, instead of just saying, oh yeah, I'll just get a time on this, or a score on this. This also things what I think would become another issue is just really poor team communication. Obviously there isn't many features for team communication right now, but I feel like there should be at least something more added to maybe try and get a strategy across to your team, or say, hey, go for this tile. Maybe a form of quick chat, or just allow the owner of the club to toggle between quick chats and a free chat, things like that, just so people can communicate better, because, I mean, it's kind of hard to discuss with a team right now if you don't have something like a Discord server. And if it's just a public group and you're having a bunch of random people join, it's going to be hard to go get a Discord to those people, if they even have it. So I think that that would be nice to see. A little bit more to communication would help out. And then, I want to talk about relics. Relics are honestly the most and least useful thing in contested territory at the same exact time. And that will sound weird because they contradict themselves, but hear me out. When it comes to relics, you have flint tips, which everyone wants. And then you have camouflaged, which what the heck, I'm not using that. It's a waste of my relic slot. But even then, when it comes down to it, the relics kind of have no value. If you have a bunch of teams that are just lightly contesting you, then you can throw whatever relic you want on, and you can just beat them with that one relic throughout some gimmick. So, they're important to have, yes, but it's also just kind of not necessary. Because there's always going to be one relic better than the other. So I think relics should be given a slight change too. The way I'd suggest reworking relics is to make it so... Honestly, I don't think that you should be given so many relic uses. Either you should be allowed to use all of your relics, or you should not be given almost any relics. And I honestly think that the give users all their relics would be way more fun. For the single reason of it makes relics a important tile to have all of a sudden. Right now, if you have a relic, cool. Sometimes you hunt for flint tips or like super range or something, whatever that one's called. But other than that, you don't really care outside of those two specific ones. And if NK were to make it so that all relics were usable at once, would it make some really game-breaking things? Yes, it would. But if someone stole back an important relic, like someone used flint tips for their strats and everything else was just there, then maybe someone can come back with some really cool counterattack using that flint tips. So therefore, it no longer becomes a battle of, oh, let's see who can get the banner tile the best with flint tips. I'm going to keep saying it, NK. Flint tips. Nerf them. Or buff everything else. That really sucks. Either way, it needs to be something that you're contesting all the territory. It's not contested banners, it's contested territory. So those are a lot of just the big things I think that need addressing. There needs to be something better about the decay system, which just is not fun to have. It doesn't keep people motivated to keep going, because they lose all their progress within just a few hours if an opponent doesn't steal it immediately. Relics should get some reworking, so they're less reliant on one or two good items and just getting ignored altogether. Team communication should be improved so people are able to better understand each other and better work together as a team. Other than that, I really think Contested Territory is a great mode. I like the random maps and whatnot. It makes it super fun. But the idea of Contested Territory just is not working because it's all so dry almost. I feel like there needs to be something that's changed. Was any of this coherent in this video? Probably not. But to those of you who do understand what I'm saying, then, well, tell me if you agree. I want to know if I'm just crazy here thinking this, but I was talking to a few people here, and this is just kind of my, like, final thoughts on it. Because I think I want to see Bloons turn into a great game. I love the work Ninja Kiwi does, and I really appreciate everything that they add. Boss Bloons are great fun. Paragons are really interesting to mess around with. We have a new tower supposedly coming soon, which is just insane to think that they're still going to do that stuff. But I'd be lying if I didn't say I wasn't disappointed by this mode that looked so big and fun, only to see it was like the ultimate disappointment after a week of play. But I'll wrap it up with that one. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you have any opinions, tell me in the comments. I want to hear and have discussion going on this video. If it gets big somehow, then, well, we'll be able to tell NK our thoughts. We'll be able to hear our voice, and we might actually get CT changed for the better. Or do you think CT is good the way it is now? Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.